Hello, Paul Hamilton here. We're going to look at today using a world building app called Topia. So let's jump straight into Topia and let's have a look at how we can use this highly engaging app to really talk about topics like concepts like sustainability and overpopulation and all these really big, really important, I guess, concepts for our kids to actually understand. So I'm going to click here and go straight to Sandbox. And I'm going to start by just going to an empty slot. Let's go to B. Let's go to Setup World. We'll just play it straight away. And this is my world here. That's how easy it is to get started. You can see it's already got some landscape and some natural features. I'm going to show you through this and just go through what I have done with Year 4 students before in regard to studying species and observing and collecting data and so forth. So first thing I'm going to show you in Topia here is to hit on the little paw prints. And you can see this little, up the top here, this little arrow going up. When I drag my finger over this world, it actually creates mountain ranges. So you can see there, that's up. If I do the reverse and hit the bottom one, that's obviously going to create lakes because I'm actually going into the earth, and you can see there it's swallowing up some of the trees and so forth. So it's pretty cool. Kids love it. Allow them to have a bit of a play first, and then I can kind of scroll my world around. You can see how beautiful it actually is. And what we're going to do now, we're going through this fairly quickly today in this tutorial, is we're going to introduce a species. So I'm going to go up to the top, hit on the animals, and I'm going to introduce this species here, which I think is called the Pinot here. And we're just going to observe. So when I put it in, I want you to write down what you actually observe in regard to this species and its behavior. So I'm going to select it once and then just draw my finger across. Now, what are you seeing? Write down a few things. Okay, you can see some love hearts. We can talk about breeding and mating. You can see, if you can look carefully, you can actually see some of the trees are dying, so it's in real time. You can see a lot of the grass that's being eaten, which may prompt discussions in regard to food and actually having food to be sustained in life and so forth. I'm not sure if you can see, if I can get a little bit closer here and I can put some more in. You can also see that they've got some attributes here, that they're staying away from the water. They're actually not that great at swimming. They're staying in herds, so they're staying in groups. You don't see too many wandering off. If I kind of scan out, you can't see too many wandering off there. I've put some more in there. They're kind of staying in groups. But you can see how quickly they're populating. Have a look at that. You can see how quickly they're populating from a distance. And so really good observations in regard to when a certain species doesn't have any predators, for example, they're going to consume a lot of food, but we need to also control that. So this is where we can introduce another species. So if I put in a species and actually put in a predator here, so I'm just going to put in one. Let's see what happens when we put in one. You can see that he chases. Pinots are running away. If I scroll over here and watch, he's actually eaten that one there. I've put in a few more, and you can see what's happening here. You can see that they're actually eating. There's still plenty of Pinots left, but if we put too many of those predators, what's going to happen to that case? And it's a really, really good study and looking at data and seeing what happens. We can also do some controlled environments too. So if I actually come across here, let's go to a different part of the world. And actually, if we want to do a controlled experiment, we can actually kind of set up a controlled environment. So what you can get your kids to do is do some mountain ranges where there's an area in the middle that you can actually observe the species and the behaviors a little bit more accurately, because you're controlling it. You can put in some trees, you can put in some water, and you can actually see how the species are actually behaving in a bit more of a controlled environment. And sometimes we can see those statistics and that data a little bit more clearly. So that's just a little tutorial. Look, the sky's the limit. I normally have a little worksheet that goes alongside this with guiding questions like, what are you observing? What conclusions can you make? Really getting our kids focused in regard to what they're observing and watching. And I also allow the kids a little bit of playtime at the start of this app to really get that out of their system in regard to creating things and so forth. So that's called Topia. So I'll just quit that. No, I won't save, and I'll get out of that. And you can see there that we can create some really, really good worlds in regard to here. I've got another world that I was creating and observing and so forth. So fantastic world building app. A little bit like Minecraft on steroids, I think, but a fantastic way of actually analysing the behaviours and characteristics of fictitious characters, fictitious species, and applying it and making connections with the real world. Paul Hamilton here for iPad Monthly, signing off.